Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Reports Week 6 High School Football Scoreboard Show with all of the scores and highlights from across Central Indiana in Part 1 coming up momentarily. Please come back for Part 2 later this evening, early afternoon, evening, for our high school football roundtable where we talked with Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood call leader, Grant Shouse and Kevin Helfrich of the Action Sports Network, who covered Alexandria Oak Hill on Friday night. We also heard from Richie Hall of the Hamilton County Reporter, big night in Hamilton County, and heard from the Lebanon Reporters, Willems, even bigger night in Boone County. Second week in a row, all three teams won in Boone County. And we also heard from Eastbrook head coach Jeff Adamson, Alexandria head coach Pete Gast, Madison Grant head coach Brady Turner, and Eastern head coach Josh Edwards. All of that coming in Part 2 later Saturday. And here is Part 1 of our high school scoreboard show, scores and highlights from across Central Indiana. I was joined by Michelle Garmon, Grant Shouse, Kevin Helfrich, and Will Willems for Part 1 of the Scoreboard Show. I am joined now by Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood call leader, and Grant Shouse of the Action Sports Network and the Central Indiana Sports Reports IU guy. Big day tomorrow, Grant and Michelle, two big IU fans. Hoosiers going to Iowa. But tonight we're talking about high school sports. Grant took in Alexandria and Oak Hill, a 27-21 win by Alexandria, and Michelle did not make the trip, but she followed along with Tipton's 30-20 loss at Heritage. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
We start in the CIC as we always do, and why is that, Michelle?
Because they were kind enough to name their conference after your podcast.
That is correct. And Eastbrook improved
Really?
to... Really, truly. Yeah.
Interesting.
In 1921, they named their conference after this podcast.
They just knew this was coming.
They knew it was coming. I'm
Later.
telling you, Grant, they knew it was coming. Eastbrook improved to 6-0 overall, 4-0 in the CIC with a 42-0 win over Elwood. We will hear from Eastbrook head coach Jeff Adamson during Part 2 of the Scoreboard Show. And Mississinawa improved to 6-0 overall, 4-0 in the CIC with a 56-13 win over Blackford. Alexandria defeated Oak Hill as Grant witnessed a very good game. 27-21, Alexandria snaps a two-game losing streak after losing to Eastbrook and Mississinawa. Alexandria scored the first 14 points of the game. That means they led at the end of the first quarter all 6 games, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a really competitive game tonight. Alexandria jumped out 14-0. Oak Hill kind of had to be a little methodical in the way their offense played, and they chopped the lead down. They got it down to 7, but then they couldn't get over the hump.
And we will hear more from Grant and Kevin Helfrich, and we heard from Pete Gast earlier tonight after the Tigers win. Madison Grant defeated Frankton 26-6 to improve to 5-1 overall. The Argyles ranked 6th in Class A. It was a game that was 6-0 at halftime on a defensive touchdown. Very defensive first half as Madison Grant broke in a new quarterback with theirs injured, and Frankton seems to be improving week by week.
Yeah, they are. And it looked like they got their senior quarterback tonight in Ethan Stansbury.
In the Central Indiana Sports Report game of the night in the Hoosier Crossroads Conference, it was number 1 Brownsburg over number 5 Westfield, 14-10. Brownsburg trailed 10-7 at the half and scored the only touchdown of the second half, a 12-yard touchdown pass from Oscar Fry to Brandon Sharp. Brandon Sharp, by the way, who will be attending the Penn State-Oregon game on Saturday as a guest of the Nittany Lions. He is that good.
I was actually surprised that the game was that low scoring. I wasn't expecting a high scoring game, but 14-10, I was not expecting either.
With Deacon King for Westfield and that passing game for Brownsburg, I definitely was expecting points.
Yeah, you're right. That was a very low scoring game. I picked Brownsburg to win it, but that's a matchup I think we're going to see again in the state championship. I don't think that's the last we've seen of Westfield Brownsburg, but we'll see.
We're going to hear from some other teams that might have an argument about that, Grant.
Yep.
State number 8 Fishers defeated number 10 Avon 29-15. Fishers is now 4-2 overall, 3-1 in the conference. Avon drops to 3-3. Gage Sturgill threw 4 touchdown passes for the Tigers, 2 of them to Vincent Rossi, and a strong performance by the Fishers defense.
This was a big win for Fishers because they'd
really
come
was.
off some tough games.
It's one that we had a toss-up in our picks competition on Thursday. And the upset of the night in the conference for sure, maybe across central Indiana. Zionsville 35, Hamilton Southeastern 29. Both teams are now 3-3 overall, 2-2 in the crossroads. Zionsville scored the first 14 points. Hamilton Southeastern took the lead, and then Zionsville scored the final 14 points. And we're hoping to have Will Willems of the Lebanon Reporter, who was at the game, with us in part 2 of the scoreboard.
Yeah, go Fantasy Brothers.
Nice win for the Eagles. I think I picked Noblesville to win 4 weeks in a row, and they've lost all 4 games. And tonight was 37-10 to Franklin Central. Franklin Central is now 4-2.
You might not want to show your face in Noblesville, Greg, or at least enter yourself in Noblesville.
Our local independents, Carmel, defeated North Central 63-14. Carmel's now 5-1. They were up 35-0 after the first quarter.
Hey, I think I saw a highlight. It was homecoming, or it was homecoming for Carmel, but I actually think they had somebody kind of like parachute down into some part of their homecoming fest.
They just have some pieces, and that's a good win for them over North Central tonight.
Yeah, there's 2 Colner brothers because his brother is the starting safety as a sophomore, and was recently offered by Duke.
LaPel remains unbeaten. The Class 2A number 3 Bulldogs 41-8 over Rushville. In a really good game tonight, Monroe Central defeated Westdale 21-14 for the Harvest Helmet Trophy. Westdale was at the goal line with a chance to win the game. The ball was stripped by Monroe Central, and Caden Dance returned the ball 97 yards for the game-winning touchdown, and Monroe Central beat Westdale 21-14. Crazy. Eastern Hancock 52-0 over Park Tudor. The Royals are now 3-3. And Shenandoah defeated Hagerstown 48-27. For the Raiders, Jarrett Hellman threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for 1, had a 2-point reception, a fumble recovery, and an interception in the game. That's called doing it all. And Cash Cowley ran for 3 touchdowns for Shenandoah. Michelle, moving to the Hoosier Conference, Tipton took a 30-20 loss at Heritage. The Blue Devils are now 3-3, which I think is probably a disappointing record, but there's no reason to be too disappointed in this team so far.
No, I was looking at it tonight, and I figure that they are probably going to finish the regular season 5-4, which is what I think they did last year. But it's a schedule they play that's going to have them well prepared for the tournament when that comes up. Tipton they did a nice job, or it went up 14-7. Heritage got a field goal as the first half ended, and then Tipton came up and an interception on their opening possession of the second half, and then the defense was great. They held, but the next possession, Heritage got a block punt that they turned into a touchdown. Tipton came back, but Heritage kind of took over, and that Weber, their quarterback, he's do everything. Quarterback, kicker, DB, he was really good. He had a great night for them.
And we'll hear more about that from Michelle in part 2 of the Scoreboard Show. Hamilton Heights defeated Class 4A number 13 Logansport 22-14. The one time I didn't pick the Huskies and they won. I told you they were going to win some of these games. I think they're that good. And it was
I think
AJ
defensively
Flanagan.
they're that good. I'm not so sure that their offense has been that consistent, but defensively they just keep getting better and better.
Western improved to 5-1 with its fifth straight win. The Class 3A number 13 Panthers are now 2-0 in the Hoosier Conference after a 34-20 win over West Lafayette. Rensselaer Central defeated Lafayette Central Catholic 44-14 to improve to 4-2. And Class 3A number 13 Twin Lakes 75-6 over rival Benton Central. The Indians are 5-1.
Benton Central's not a very good team. Twin Lakes bounced back really nice. All these scores here sets up that big school division in the Hoosier Conference is going to be interesting over the final 3 weeks of the season.
Moving to the Hoosier Heritage Conference, it was 5A number 1 New Pal 49-0 over Greenfield Central. The Dragons jumped out to a 21-0 lead after the first quarter, then scored on the first play of the second. 4A number 11 Pendleton Heights defeated Mount Vernon 56-13 to improve to 5-1. It was 21-0 after the first quarter, and I repeat myself, the Arabians scored on the first play of the second quarter to go up 28-0 on a Brant Gray keeper. Yorktown defeated Shelbyville 48-28. The Tigers are now 5-1. Nate Luzatter 5 rushing touchdowns for the Tigers, and Sam Tokar threw for 2 touchdowns. And Delta defeated Newcastle 27-20 to improve to 3-3. 2 straight wins for Coach Lynch's bunch.
That was a nice come from behind win. I think they were down 20-7 at one point. So came back to 27-20. That's a pretty good rally.
And former Eagle Nate Luzatter 5 rushing touchdowns for Yorktown. In the North Central Conference, it was Kokomo 50-22 over Marion, and it wasn't that close, Grant. It was 20-0 after the first quarter. Kokomo had 329 yards of offense in the first half. Barrismore had a school record 230 yards receiving. His 9 receiving receptions is second in program history. And Brandon Humphreys also had 2 receiving touchdowns. Luke Calloway threw for 3 touchdown passes.
That's a Marion team, Greg, that's just struggled putting the ball in the end zone this year. They've looked really good in some spots, but then have just kind of had offensive lulls where they've struggled, and that definitely showed tonight.
And Michelle, I think Caleb Small's team is starting to find it.
I think so too. I mean, he's a good coach, and he's going to have a very nice offense with balance, a little passing and a little run. Probably more passing than running when all of his quarterback and his receivers are healthy. But he's doing a nice job there at Kokomo, and it's a little bit different than what opponents are used to seeing in the past from the Wildcats.
And they host Lafayette Jeff next week. Jeff a 77-0 winner over Anderson. It was 50-0 early in the second quarter. It was Muncie Central 64-20 over Richmond. The Bearcats are also 2-0 in the conference, joining Kokomo and Lafayette Jeff. And I said that like there was more, and there's not.
Jeff is probably going to win that NCC. They were really good a year ago. They're still good.
To the Hoosier Heartland, Sheridan remains the only unbeaten team in the conference with a 22-13 win over Class A number 14 Taylor. Sheridan's defense dominated after Javion Harris scored on the first possession for Taylor. They didn't score again until 2:10 left in the game.
I really thought that Sheridan would do that. Taylor kind of shocked them last year. But Sheridan's just always really known for his defense, and Harris got loose early, but sounds like the Blackhawks made some nice adjustments and controlled the game throughout. They're a hard team because they're usually pretty strong. They're just a hard team to beat because they don't beat themselves very often.
And 2A number 14 Eastern defeated Clinton Central 63-6. We will hear from Eastern head coach Josh Edwards in the second part of the scoreboard. And Clinton Prairie defeated Delphi 38-0. And I picked Delphi, and that tells you everything about how I've done this year in our picks competition.
Yep.
Yep. I knew Delphi couldn't handle the Prairie passing game.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, Greg, I picked him and I'm at the top of the leaderboard, so don't feel too bad.
I hear you. A lot of people did. It was almost half. To the Three Rivers Conference, Mechaniqua and Rochester both go to 5-0. Mechaniqua 42-28 over Northwestern. It was 28-28 after three quarters.
That Mechaniqua team has kind of struggled lately. I know they had a 14-point win, but I know Coach his team's not playing where he'd like them to play. And they have a lot of time to make up for that, but they're kind of controlling their own destiny here coming down the stretch in the TRC.
The team that's not struggling is Rochester, a 50-0 winner over Peru tonight. They are 5-1 overall, and also, like I said, 5-0 in the conference. Lewis Cass goes to 4-1 in the conference with a 48-13 win over Whitco. Northfield 47-41 over Wabash for their first win of the year.
Quick on that Northfield game, they've now won 16 in a row versus Wabash, and they kept that streak tonight and got their first win of the year.
And Manchester defeated Southwood 46-7 to improve to 4-2 overall. In the Sagamore Conference, Lebanon improves to 5-1 with a 21-14 win over previously unbeaten Triton Central, which is ranked 4th in Class 2A. The score is 0-0 at halftime. There were 3 touchdowns scored in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter after Triton Central tied the game. With 14 straight points, junior Tannen Mondin returned the kickoff 95 yards for the game-winning score. Then Lebanon stopped Triton Central on 4th down at the 2-yard line with 46 seconds left. 5th straight Lebanon. Danville defeated Cincinnati Bacon 37-13 to improve to 3-3, and Harrison is 3-3 after a 21-7 win over rival McCutcheon.
Wasn't at the Triton Central Lebanon game, but was able to talk to Coach Yoder on the way back home. He was just really pleased with the second half. He couldn't say enough about their defense and the way that they were able to limit Triton Central most of the game and then coming up with that big stop at the end of the fourth quarter. 5 wins in a row now, and they're really clicking as they head into the stretch run of the season.
And in the Monon Conference, Western Boone won its 4th straight game and is 4-0 in the conference after a 61-0 win over Frankfort. Then they are at Southmont next week. Southmont defeated North Putnam 40-14 to improve to 4-0 in the conference, and Cascade improved to 4-0 in the conference. Both Southmont and Cascade are unbeaten. Cascade beat Crawfordsville 55-3, and it'll be Cascade and Southmont in Week 8. So we will have 3 straight weeks of big Monon Conference games to see who wins the first ever championship. In the MIC, it was Center Grove 36-0 over Lawrence Central. The Trojans are ranked 2nd in Class 6A, and Grant, another one of those teams that might spoil a Brownsburg-Westfield rematch. And that was not officially a conference game, but it should be, and it will be again.
It pretty much is. That's the only team I can think of out of the South in 6A that would spoil that matchup. And Kevin can even back me up here. That Center Grove team is the real deal.
Yeah, very impressed with what we saw of them. They looked like a college team more than a high school team. I mean, they were impressive.
And like Noblesville, I'm done picking Ben Davis. Lawrence North beat the Giants 48-19 tonight. The Wildcats are 5-1 overall. Prather had 4 touchdown passes and ran for another for Lawrence North, and Zay Jones ran for the first 2 touchdowns of the game. And 6A number 9 Warren Central beat Pike 31-28 to improve to 5-1. And in the Circle City Conference, Chittard beat Guerin Catholic 56-14. Chittard ranked 2nd in Class 4A, and Roncalli's ranked 7th in Class 4A. They defeated Brebeuf 41-7. Brebeuf remains winless. I want to mention from across the state, Gibson Southern, ranked 3rd in 3A, defeated 4A number 1 Heritage Hills 38-34.
That was that Heritage Hills Gibson Southern game that we actually talked about on our broadcast between Oak Hill and Alexandria how great of a game that would be, and it turns out it was.
Decatur Central beat 5A number 3 Plainfield 37-19. A lot of us saw that one coming. And South Bend St. Joe is 6-0 for the first time since 1995 after beating 6A number 10 Elkhart 21-14. Thanks, guys. Everybody go listen to part 2. Thanks to Michelle, Kevin, Grant, Richie, and Will for joining the Scoreboard show. Thank you for listening. Please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with as many high school football fans as you possibly can. We could really use the support and help spreading the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.